Ric Bucher. Got his podcast On the Ball with Ric Bucher.
Oh, thank you for the promo.
Watching the Warriors and the Kings, it really does feel like, I said this earlier, a couple years ago in the divisional round, the Chiefs played the Bills. Mahomes and Allen had 7 touchdowns, no picks, 700 yards, and you're like, what a bummer. They can't play again next week. I'm watching this series, and I feel like I'm watching the Western Conference Finals. The intensity and the skill levels, to me, is remarkable.
It's certainly above a first-round matchup, and even the chess match going on between the two coaches and the rosters is. I put it out on Twitter. I'm good with making this a best of 13, and then advancing both teams, and just letting the Grizzlies and Lakers go home. Because as much drama as that series has, the level of basketball is not nearly at what we're seeing in this series.
You know, De'Aaron Fox, and I understand this because part of what makes the NBA great, and I love this, is the aesthetic. Mm-hmm. In football, win the games.
Yep.
Nobody cares that Brady wasn't an athlete. Win the games. Basketball's different. Dr. J, I grew up with World Be Free. Guys downtown, Freddie Brown. Mm-hmm. Your style... Mm-hmm. We didn't care if you always won titles. If you had credibility, if you were fun, if you were unique, that was good.
Sure.
And De'Aaron Fox doesn't have the dynamic vertical ability of Ja Morant. He's not as fast as John Wall. I watch his game. Mm-hmm. It is so smooth. It is so slick. It is so smart. His temperament. I think we just don't watch Sacramento. It's small market. It's West Coast. Yeah. This kid, to me, feels like a top 10 player in the league.
He is certainly putting himself in that conversation, but I would say that he has grown up an awful lot. Nothing has happened better to him than Mike Brown coming in and challenging him. I talked to a scout who was big on De'Aaron when he came into the league, because he thought he was going to be a two-way player, as we're seeing in this series. And whether it was Sacramento losing, the constant changes, getting paid, whatever it was, he kind of fell off that. It felt like he got starry-eyed with his own success. And he's come back around, and he's now showing you what he's capable of. You hit a great point, and I think the most important thing you said was smart. Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, as comparison, are not playing smart, but they're playing young. And this is their third consecutive run together in the playoffs. Look, you can play up and down and play a little crazy during the regular season. You get to the postseason, and it's about playing smart, intelligently. And they're doing none of that. They're playing wilder in the postseason than they did in the regular season. Yeah. And it's why the first quarter happened the way it happened in this last game. And Ja Morant was front and center. Maybe the most pointless, meaningless 45 points I have ever seen in a playoff game. And especially getting it late. Yeah. Like everybody's, wow, look at what he did. And I guarantee you LeBron and AD were complimenting him because they would love to see more of that.
Yeah.
Run the team and get me meaningful points. I would rather have have that team organized in the first quarter and settling them down than going for 25 in the fourth quarter in a game that's already been decided.
If you go back to Kobe, I don't have it obviously in front of me, but Kobe's record when he scored like 40 or more for the Lakers, it usually was a bad sign.
Yeah.
Is that even Michael Jordan had like a level 32-33, and then it was too much Michael Jordan, too many shots, you're taking away Kukoc Pippen. So I'm never blown away. When you're somebody scoring 45, if it's a big guy with a physical mismatch, then I get it. If it's a guard, you're usually shooting too much, and you have too much of the ball in your hands.
And it's it's the 40-point games where you don't notice that they're scoring because they're just getting it all along the way. And then they hit a couple buckets at the end, and you're like, wow.
Jayson Tatum gives me 32 sometimes, and it doesn't feel like I got 32. Yep. That's a great player. Yep. So I want to talk about this. So the Warriors, one of the things they do very well, they're the great tweakers. And they did it last year in the finals. They've, outside of the KD first year, it's never been easy. They've had to overcome injuries, good teams, suspensions. They put Draymond on De'Aaron Fox, and it did slow him down.
Yep.
Is that going to be their new recipe?
Well, I think they're going to continue to mix and match. You pointed out that De'Aaron is a smart player. I do think that Draymond's ability to use his length and play angles is what made that different. They had Andrew Wiggins on him early on.
Yeah.
And Wiggins is just, he's going to defend you with his physical ability. He's long and athletic, but he just plays it a different way. Draymond just plays a smarter defensive game, and it threw De'Aaron off. But I don't think you give him a steady diet of anything. I think you continue to give him
little
different
Peyton,
looks.
a little Wiggins, a little Draymond.
What's different is, and this points to the vulnerability of the Warriors and how good the Kings are, is I've never seen Steve Kerr have to make this many adjustments this early in the playoffs. He is having to manipulate his roster and who he's playing. Like he gave Jonathan Kuminga about 3 minutes. It was a disaster. I doubt. I would be surprised if you saw Kuminga in the game in Sacramento. Moses Moody got five first quarter minutes. He's moving toward his veterans earlier than he ever has. And the next guy that's off the boat or out of the rotation or limited is probably going to be Jordan Poole, because for as many points as he scored,
he's too loose.
He's a train wreck defensively, and he's unreliable. And the way the Warriors are going to win this series, if they win it,
is old dudes
and just being consistent and not turning the ball over.
Well, we always felt with the Warriors this year, it was always the bridge year. Are the young guys ready? Because the old guys need to play less. And we saw it didn't work.
Right.
Now, I will say the last 4 or 5 regular season games, Kuminga, I thought, came into his own a little bit. But I was telling a friend this who likes Jordan Poole. I'm like, Jordan Poole is what he is. All this one-handed stuff, this loose. He's always on the floor. At some point, as a parent, you come to terms with what your kids are. You're hoping they're something. They're not something. And then at some point, you're like, yeah, my kids are not going to be this. With Jordan Poole, it's been long enough.
Okay.
This is who he is.
Yeah. Well, now that he's paid, too. I mean, as a parent, when are you going to get the best out of your kids when you're trying to get them to learn a lesson? Before you give them their allowance. Once they get their allowance.
Or the car.
It's another week or two before you got any chance of corralling that.
So very rarely, I thought, Memphis is trying to get under LeBron's skin. And I'm like, guys, there's a lot of people that you can get under their skin. The all-time scoring leader who's been in the league 20 years. That would be like going to Kareem in his 20th year. Yeah, I'm going to poke you in the ribs. I'm going to rattle you, Kareem. Like, it's too exhausting.
Yeah.
Who do I blame for this? Like, you said something earlier. This is the 3rd year of Memphis in the playoffs.
Yep.
And they're still immature.
Yep.
So to me, I feel like Sacramento is a player away, not even a great player, a good player away from going on a 3 or 4 year run with a title. I think Memphis is 2 stars away. I don't think they're close. Like, what do you do with Memphis going forward? They're not winning that thing tonight.
I need to get some veterans in that locker room.
Grown-ups.
And grown-ups. And grown-ups, ideally, who have some playoff success, have been to the finals, have won a championship, something like that, because that is missing.
And Al Horford, if he was available and 3 years younger.
Yeah, maybe a Mike Conley.
Yeah.
Although you probably need a little more of a dynamic personality but to get through to those guys at this point. Yeah. To answer your question, I blame GM Zach Kleiman, and I blame head coach Taylor Jenkins, because I've been around that team some this year, and the players run the show.
Ugh.
And there's no it seems there's no accountability. It's not just that you're trying to rattle the cage of LeBron James. You're trying to rattle the cage of LeBron James with Dylan Brooks in the first game being played, playoff game, being played in by the Lakers in L.A. since God knows when. The crowd was
crazy.
Just off. They were off the chain. Yes. And of course you were going to get that. So then you wave the red meat of Dylan Brooks. I mean, what did you expect?
That's what I'm saying. It's just a bad game plan. I've talked to NFL coaches on this, and you're 2 series into it, and you're like, yep, game plan's bad. It's not working. This isn't working. You cannot rattle a veteran star.
Yeah.
You don't.
Well,
yeah. I mean, it's just really hard.
The team that has won every game so far hasn't been the more talented team. I said from the beginning, Memphis was going to decide the series. I can make a case where pure talent, Memphis has more talent, even missing some of the bigs. But the team that played the smarter, more intelligent game, as they did when they won, is the team that won. And I see no indication that the Grizzlies have learned from their mistakes and understand that. And Ja doing what he did at the end of Game 4 was only more proof to me that they don't have a collective game plan on how to approach this.
You know, I will say this. When you look at the Knicks roster, Jalen Brunson, Jalen is just your classic Villanova guy. Comes out of college, he's 23 going on 43.
Yep.
Like, he's a total adult.
Son of a coach and a player.
Yeah, so Jalen Brunson is what the Knicks need. New York can overwhelm you. It has overwhelmed people. If you look at the people that have starred in New York, Eli Manning, Derek Jeter, Aaron Judge, Jalen Brunson, really mature for their age.
Yeah.
Often like somebody in their family in sports. Because New York, the women are beautiful. There's a lot of money. There's a lot to do. The media.
A lot of distractions.
A lot of distractions. And if you look at the Jeters and the Judges, and I mean, we saw that Mets team unravel, the legendary Mets team. Like, you can get in trouble in New York fast.
Sure.
And I watched this kid, and I'm like, you know, I barely remember Walt Frazier, but I look at him and I think, they stole their modern-day Walt Frazier. Now, Walt was a much better defensive player, but if you look at it, I feel like for all the nonsense with the Knicks through the years, once you get the point guard right, everything kind of falls into place.
Yeah, look, the intelligence of Jalen Brunson has
again on display,
it without question, and it's made the difference. And this is the thing I think people don't understand about the playoffs is that it's not about playing at the rim; it's your ground game. That is where everything is done, and his ability to understand space and timing and change of speed, change of direction, and organizing the team and seizing the moment, understanding the moment when he needs to score and how has been huge. Now, I will say one of the things that the Knicks have collectively that has given them a huge advantage is just the size and length
of
their guards in particular.
Yeah.
That's created a problem. Josh Hart is giving Donovan Mitchell everything he can handle. And Donovan Mitchell's the flip side. You saw Darius Garland. Darius Garland can go toe-to-toe with Jalen Brunson in terms of organizing a team, getting his own. Donovan Mitchell is a pure freelancer.
Yeah.
Which works during the regular season.
A little Westbrooky.
Does not work in the postseason. And what you saw in Utah is you're seeing all over again in Cleveland.
All right, let's go to, I've said this, is that generally stars the construction of the roster. The Clippers, to me, are the opposite. I love everything. Kawhi is holding them back. And the other day, I don't know if you were on, but it was Game 3. I drove home. I turned on social media, and it said, Kawhi out Game 3. And I thought, Steve Ballmer's done.
Yeah.
Like, this is we've seen that Kawhi Leonard out 1,000 times.
Yep.
That one's like, oh, you just stole a game in Phoenix.
Yep.
You're going to shock the world. They have to move off this, right?
Well, initially, I thought they were not playing him in Game 3 because they got the split, and you had the Thursday night game, and then you had an early start on Saturday. And after all the minutes that he'd played in the first two games, I'm thinking, if they're going to load manage here, do it with Game 3 and then come back and win Game 4 because the turnaround was going to make it tough. You ran a greater risk of injury. If he plays Thursday night, he has to play 40 minutes plus, and then you try to play him Saturday. That's what I thought. When he missed Game 4, that's when I said, oh, this is more than that. This is the problem that Steve Ballmer faces, is he's about to go into a new arena, and you need to be able to sell tickets. And I know from the outside perspective, well, if Kawhi's not available, is he really a star? You know, has this star, as the star presence of Paul George and Kawhi really made you feel it in L.A., it's still bigger than anything else they have. So unless he's going to find another show pony, essentially, I would see, and keep in mind, Kawhi has one more year on this deal next season, and then he has a player option. So I would expect that you will see them back next year and see how it goes.
It's been a bad investment now.
Well, without question. And this is the thing that Steve did that I've seen so many new owners do. They try to buy their way to a championship.
Well, Phoenix has their guy bought KD.
They come in and they want to reinvent the wheel. I've seen Mark Cuban was the first one that did it over the top. And then he realized, oh, wait, there's a reason people run this business the way that they do. And they get smarter along the way. And then they understand you can't just buy pieces. You have to build a team. And that takes a lot more insight than just money.
All right, so...
by the way, you said a word earlier on the show, Schloid. Right?
I heard it too. I don't know what that means.
I looked it up. There's somebody on social media who calls themselves Schloid and they're a professional slacker, but I had no idea. And I'm sort of an etymologist. We all like words, right?
Yeah.
I was fascinated. Where did you...
Yeah, just years ago, somebody I knew used to use that word. If something was messed up, instead of the more vile or FCC non-available word, just say it's kind of a schloid. I mean, it's just all messed up.
Cool.
Nothing's going right. It's just maybe I made a word up.
Webster's is going to give you credit for that.
The proudest moment in my life will be if Webster says. They introduce like 9 words a year.
Yeah.
Isn't ain't in there now?
Pretty sure.
I can't get Schloid.
I'm sure it is.
It's just something's all messed up and you can't, like you go on vacation and it rains I showed up once on a vacation in San Diego. 8 people. They didn't have any rooms. That was a Schloid. I'll tell you right now, my wife was not happy.
No doubt.
Let's see. Is there anything, I watched the Celtics yesterday.
Yep.
I know they're good.
Yep.
But I'm sitting there like, can you put Atlanta away? I'm sitting there for an hour and a half. Sometimes I watch the Celtics and I'm like, they're winning this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then I almost feel like they're bored because the same guys have been doing this for years.
Yeah.
They are bored with Atlanta. They just want to get through this. It's like LeBron when he was in the East. He was just like, can you get me to the second round? Yeah. I think what Boston is doing is Boston is a victim of their success. They're bored with Atlanta. They're bored with the series.
Yeah, I would agree, but I don't see it hurting them. And I do think that they have the capability of when they're facing a worthy opponent that they're going to get busy. And I see them, honestly, I see them as the team to beat, even though the Bucks had the best record, with Giannis being compromised and the matchup between Milwaukee and Boston.
Boston and Golden State have played so many games together.
Yeah.
Last year, if you go back to the finals, the quality of passing and defensive switching is so good with the Celtics and the Warriors.
Yep.
They've been in so many practices, all this load management stuff. Boston will do switches defensively, and they are seamless. Mm-hmm. That is like playing together. I mean, you go play at the YMCA, and you play 4 games in an afternoon. By the 4th game, you're like, oh, I know that guy's tendencies.
Yep.
Boston and the Warriors have played so many games together. It's just high basketball IQ on both ends of the floor.
This is the trickiest part with the Boston Celtics, is that Jayson Tatum may be as good a defensive player as he is an offensive player. They have Derek White, Malcolm Brogdon, Marcus Smart as point guards. Like, they're always going to have the riches that Joe Mazzulla has to play with are extraordinary. Who's the guy that's going to go win you the game with the game on the line? And it's going to be Jayson Tatum.
It's supposed to be.
Well,
it's not always.
I mean, they're going to try to make it Jayson Tatum. That's who they're going to go to.
But Jaylen Brown sometimes has a better answer.
Yeah,
wants it more.
That is the question. Can Jayson Tatum be that guy? That's the only question I have as far as the Boston Celtics and their ability to win the championship.
Yeah, he has J-Mac's got a Jayson Tatum newsletter that comes out about 3 times a week. He loves the guy. Ric Bucher, it's great seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.